Assalaamualaikum. Here we from Tab 2 and Group Number 1. My name is Firzanah and I would like to introduce our members' name is Atikah, Syakirah and Salsabila. Now we would like to talk about analyzing the audience and gathering the material. Public speaking is the process of delivering a speech to an audience. Effective public speaking involves understanding the audience and speaking goals. Choose element for the speech that will engage the audience with the topic and delivering the message effectively. Good public speakers understand that they must plan, organize, and revise their material in order to develop an effective speech.
My name is Atikah. I will explain the theoretical part about analyzing the audience. Analyzing the audience is the process of gathering information about your audience so that you can understand their beliefs, needs, expectations, values, attitudes, and likely opinions. Firstly, an audience-centeredness is a practical and user-friendly guide to help speakers connect with their listeners. The speaker should think about the listener's background, interest, level of knowledge, and attitudes regarding the topic. Next, the psychology of audience. That is, a speaker must choose a good topic to get attention from the audience. For example, if the speaker talk about something related to their needs, belief, or interest, they automatically will listen to the speaker very diligently. Every speech contains two messages: the one that's sent by the speaker and the one received by the listener. One of the ways speakers analyze audience is by looking at demographic traits such as age, gender, cultures, religions, or race, and membership groups. First factor that should be considered is age. The speaker must know the average age of their audience before giving a speech so that all the audience will understand and pay full attention to the speaker. Secondly, gender. The speaker should not be biased between males and women. Speaker must use words that are not sex and gender specific. Then, if you are giving a speech in general channel, avoid sensitive issues because there are a lot of people of different cultures, religions, or race that listen to your speech. Lastly, speaker also needs to know the non-verbal language and behavior that expresses or implies negative message about people based on their various membership groups. The next type of analysis is situational audience analysis because it focuses on characteristics related to the specific speaking situation. These traits include the size of audience. Speakers should use more effective ways like providing visual and audio material so people who sit back in the hall will see and hear properly even if with a larger audience. Next, a speaker must make initial preparations by checking physical settings to avoid any unexpected circumstances that can influence the attention and discomfort of the audience in the place where the speaker delivering a speech. Disposition toward the topic is also important. A speaker must choose a topic that suits the audience before giving a speech and also must consider in more detail about their interest in the topic, knowledge about it, and attitude toward it. It is because listeners often listen to the topic that they are interested in, and usually people tend to be interested in what they know about. Then, disposition toward the occasion dictate how long a speech should be. Usually, a speaker will be given a limited time to talk, so that a speaker must always be alert as not to exceed the time given. There are three major types of questions to choose from when developing an audience analysis questionnaire, which is fixed alternative questions. As their name implies, offer a fixed choice between two or more alternatives. Then scale questions are questions that require response at fixed interval, a scale of answers. While open-ended questions allow respondents to answer however they want, with their own words and produce more detail. There are two major stages in this process of audience adaptation. The first occurs before the speech, as part of a public speaker preparation and rehearsal. The second occurs during the presentation of the speech itself. Audience adaptation before the speech, which by assessing how the audience is likely to respond to what a speaker says in a speech and adjusting what a speaker says to make it as clear, appropriate, and convincing as possible. Audience adaptation during the speech. A speaker has to find another way to present their speech if there is any unexpected situation that happens. Make an observation, which is to remain alert to the non-verbal cues of audience members, including eye contact, physical movement, and note-taking. A speaker also can use polls or open response questions during a presentation to keep the audience engaged and give the public speaker valuable feedback during the presentation.
My name is Nur Syakirah binti Ab Hamid, and right now I will proceed to the topic gathering materials. For the first part is personal knowledge and experience. In this part, professional public speakers are generally called upon to address a topic on which they are considered an expert, and do not be afraid to draw our own experience to enhance the message. Second part is library resources, which is librarians. Librarians are one of our best resources when conducting research. Their job is to learn all about the available resources and help successfully find the material most relevant that we need. Next, books. Most libraries make finding books easy by indexing them in online catalog. The index will provide the title, author, and other publication information for each book. Next, reference works. It often kept in a part of the library called the reference section. The major sorts of reference work are encyclopedia, yearbook, quotation books, and biographical aids. Next, periodicals, which is magazines, newspapers, journals, and other publications printed at predictable intervals. Next, full text database. Many people use professional electronic database containing the full text of journals to find articles on their computers. The third part is internet resources. Some popular search engine is Google, Ask, and others. The search engine particularly useful for people who want to support the ideas in their speech, which are Google Scholar and Google Book. Besides, government documents regularly publish large quantities of information regarding their citizens, such as census data, health reports, and crime statistics. Next, Wikipedia is a great resource for general information. Fourth part is evaluating internet information. Firstly, authorship. If we cannot find the information about the author in the document itself, look for a link to the author's homepage or to another site that explains the author's credentials. Secondly, sponsorship. We must judge whether the sponsored organization is impartial enough to cite in our speech. Thirdly, recency. The way to determine the recency of an internet document is to look for a copyright date, publication date, or date of the last revision of the document. Fifth part is interviewing. There are 3 steps in interviewing. Firstly, before the interview, the first component is designing interview questions. Take time with the questions because there are guides for interview. The second component is recording the interview. As preparation for an interview, decide whether to record the interview or take notes on paper. Secondly, during the interview, dress appropriately and be on time. Besides, repeat the purpose of the interview and request permission to record the interview. Thirdly, after the interview, review the notes or transcribe the notes soon after the interview. Sixth part is tips for doing research, which are start early, make a preliminary bibliography, take note efficiently, and think about the materials as our research. The last part is Islamic perspective. Islamic knowledge is derived from 2 essential sources, namely Al-Quran and Hadith. The Muslims has visited any Islamic website for information search, reference, Q&A, blog or forum, reading Al-Quran, learning Hadith, and others.
For the interview, we decided to interview Encik Muhammad Saiful Anwar bin Abdul Hadi, which everyone know him as Abu Saif. He is a motivated Al-Quban Korean. We asked him several questions about analyzing the audience and gathering the material. First one is survey. He said that we have to survey who are our audience because different kind of audience can make the different way about how we as a speaker to attract the audience. Next, he used the storytelling, make a jokes, and get the audience to respond to make their audience keep their attention to his speech. He also delivered the speech based on Islamic Sharia. Basically, we will take the Islamic element from Al-Quran and Hadith. After finish the speech, he also gave the survey paper to the audience about the level of satisfaction of the topic and how he delivered his speech. Gathering the material will help the speaker to know what they want to say. For example, we also can tell about our own knowledge and experience. It is related to the topic that we want to say. He also collect the material from books, Kitab Taurat, article, newspaper, and some theses. All of these resources will show the audience that the speaker said the right thing and the true information. He also looked at the internet for the material and he interviewed people who has more experience and applied to his speech. We have to do the research, like compare our research with the latest issue that we get. If we do the research, we will discuss about the research, about the topic, and content in the speech will be better because we will get the different kind of audience from different backgrounds. So speaker must get the right resources before talk in the speech.
My name is Nur Salsabila binti Mamauod. The similarities of the literature and interview about analyzing the audience are that the speaker must survey information about the audience and choose an interesting topic to get the intentions from the audience in their own speech. Second, the similarities about gathering material from an Islamic perspective According to the speaker, he uses Al-Quran, Hadith, the study of the scholars, and obtain the correct data. According to the literature, it says that usually Islamic knowledge is derived from two essential sources like Al-Quran, Hadith, and also known as Sunnah. The Muslim also had visited any Islamic website for information search, references, Q&A, blog and references, learning Qurans, reading Hadiths, and also reading new updates and others. The differences between literature and the interview with the speaker in analysing the audience. According to the literature, the public speaker seeks the personal information about the audience through interviews or surveys, while the interviewer said that he is doing the survey through the form to write the details and survey using WhatsApp for someone who is far away. Next, the differences between the research that has been done and what the speakers said in evaluating the soundness of research materials found on the internet. According to Stephen E. Lucas, in evaluating internet documents, some criteria that can help us to distinguish the credibility, which is authorship, sponsoring organizations, and recency of the research materials. But according to the speaker, he uses supporting arguments, interviewers, and his practical. As a conclusion, analysing the audience and gathering materials are important to the public speaker before they give the speech. The best public speaker should choose any interesting topic and know how to analyze the audience to get the audience attention during their speech. Next, this chapter on gathering materials has covered a lot of information that will be useful in our public speaking class as well as other classes. Having a strong research foundation will give our speech interesting and credibility. However, we will need to take care to ensure we will offer the highest credibility and quality. Using the various resources available, we will likely to find more evidence than we can incorporate into one's speech.